Welcome to another iteration of the Insurance Technology Webinar Series by Accelerated Automation. So excited to have Victor here with us from ClickRush. This is going to be a little bit different than anything we've done. We don't do a ton of webinars on marketing. So I'm excited to have you here. And honestly, I'm going to be right along with you guys, learning this stuff and hearing from Victor because unfortunately, we haven't had a lot of opportunity to really talk to each other. We're working with similar clients and they're having amazing success, but we haven't really been able to sit down. So first of all, thank you for being here. Excited to have you on. Tell us a little bit, of course, about your background, how you got to be the Google guy and all of that.
Yeah, first off, thank you for having me. Yeah, so just a background on myself. I started in insurance and P&C about 10 years ago. Worked for a $10 million State Farm agency. Um, After a year, I went to go work for the largest Allstate agency in the country, an $83 million agency. Did everything there from appointment setting to sales, management, managed an office, built out life and retirement department, built out internship programs, all that good stuff. Worked there for 3 years. Then I went to go work for another mega agency out uh, in Washington with Allstate. Built out an outbound sales team there. And then I opened my own independent agency. So I did that, built it to a million in 3 years, sold it because I was in a horrible contract. And anyone who's in a bad contract, if you can find a way out of it, there's always a way. So I sold my agency. I had a 2 year non-compete, and I had built my agency essentially trying to find ways to get away from lead vendors. And I feel like lead vendors they're necessary, but they should never be a primary lead source for agents. You shouldn't rely purely on having to spend money to make money. And so for me, it was like, how do I cut that middleman out and build those processes within my own agency? And so I did that in my agency as a solo agent. And then after I sold my agency, I had a 2 year non-compete. So I'm like, all right, I can't open another agency. What am I going to do during this time? I've got some money and I've got plenty of time. And so I started helping my friends kind of build the same systems into their agencies that I had in mind. And they were having a lot of success very quickly. So I was like, you know, excuse my language, but I was like, shit, I think I got a business going here that I don't even know about. So I started charging and turned into a full-blown business and kind of just turned into what it is today. So, um, yeah, as far as Google, I've always loved Google, between Google Ads, Google Business Profile, and just all things Google, Google Suite. I use Google for everything. And so it just felt like a natural kind of business play for us to kind of work around Google. It's the number one search engine in the world. That's where people are looking for everything. So why wouldn't you start there? So that's kind of how I got into Google, how I became the Google person. I guess there's not other marketers that are coming from insurance to this extent with Google, but that's kind of how I ended up here.
So how did you, that's awesome. I love businesses that are born out of just best practices, things that you implement and that turn into success. And then obviously you start helping your friends and colleagues and then you see that click, you have that click, right? Where, oh, there's a lot of people that want help with this. This is cool.
Yeah.
But how did you, let's back up a little bit. How did you get into insurance? How did that happen?
So that's an interesting story. I think we all kind of have weird stories of how we get into insurance, but for me, I used to be a professional baseball player, and I had a career-ending injury. Um, had Tommy John surgery. That was like a year and a half recovery, and then while I was recovering from that, I ended up hurting my shoulder. So I was like, I'm retired. I'm done. So I wanted to stay within baseball, and I started coaching little league kids. And one of the kids that I was coaching one day, his father was the State Farm agent who brought me in, and he was like, "Hey, do you want to make some real money?" And I was like, "Yes, yes, please." So that's how I got into it. He recruited me. He saw me coaching this kid, and he brought me in, and you know, that's uh that's how I got transitioned into insurance, and I haven't left since.
You didn't grow up just wishing and waiting to be an insurance agent when you all grew up. It never
No,
happens to any of us.
yeah,
I love it. My son is crazy into baseball. Have you seen this banana ball league thing now?
yeah, Savannah Bananas. Yeah, I've been
Yeah,
following them
he
for a
is
while.
obsessed. It is so much fun. We can't wait to go to a game, but
Yeah, just an interesting thing to throw in there. One of the coaches for the Savannah Bananas, who's been there since day one, was my teammate in college.
Oh my gosh, wow. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
so I've
Very,
known
very
him for a
It's
while
quite a
now.
story too, even from an entrepreneurial standpoint. Their banana ball, like the Savannah Bananas, if you listen to the founder, the struggles that they had in the beginning. If you guys haven't heard of these guys, he's got an amazing story, really trying to be all in and really focusing on his fans and how they became successful. Really, really cool story, but it's super fun to watch as well.
Yeah,
I love baseball, but watching baseball can be so, it's so much fun when you're at the game, but watching on TV is a little different. These guys really like reinvented it. So it's a very interesting take on a sport that's been around for a long time. Um,
absolutely.
so tell us about Google. I would completely agree with you that I think it's very underutilized. I was really surprised when I moved here out to Idaho and basically started finally collecting Google reviews, like when I started using Agency Zoom because it was just built in. How much people were finding us there and calling us because of our reviews. And that wasn't something I had done in the prior 5 years of my agency, and nobody was talking about it either. That was something businesses in insurance should even be doing. Um, I know it's hugely, it's very successful. It works really, really well. How would an agent start, or like what should they kind of think about if they're trying to figure out, is this something that they should consider using?
Yeah. So reviews are it's two prong. So when you're looking at Google Business Profile specifically, because that's where you're going to be collecting your reviews, there's a couple things to keep in mind. Number one, your Google Business Profile is tied directly to Google Maps. And so there's two ranking systems. You have Google Search and you have Google Maps. And so Google Maps is what is the local based ranking that's tied to your Google Business Profile. Reviews have nothing to do with your ranking. They have zero weight on it. They do have weight on your rankings for Google search. So there is still an importance in receiving it, but you want to collect as many good reviews as possible from real clients, and you want to do it in two ways. One is review velocity, so the amount of reviews and how often you're getting them, right? So Google's going to look at how quickly you're receiving reviews and how consistently you're receiving good reviews. That plays into their ranking system on the Google search side. On the Google Map side, the reviews are super important because it's essentially like it's your forward facing profile to the consumer, and people make their purchasing decisions off of the reviews that they see. So it's important to have good reviews, right? Picture you go into like a restaurant. The first thing you're going to do is probably look at like the reviews, to look at the pictures and what other people are saying about the restaurant, right? It's the same thing with business. People make their purchasing decisions before they ever talk to you as an agent. They're looking at your reviews, they're looking at your profile, they're looking at your website. They want to see what other people have to say about you. It's important from that standpoint. So I highly recommend, if you're not getting reviews, you need to be doing it, and it needs to be a part of your routine. Like that needs to be an everyday occurrence. If you're selling policies every day, you need to be getting reviews from those clients every day. When clients are offboarding, if you have a very good customer service system in place, even when people leave you, you should still be offboarding your clients and asking for reviews on their experience with you. They may not be happy with the rates, but if they're happy with the service they received, regardless of the rates, they'll still leave you a good review, and that helps. So I recommend definitely putting in place systems to receive reviews and receive them regularly.
I didn't know that as far as the how they work so differently on the maps and the rankings.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have you just keep going because I'm not even sure all the questions to ask. I love Google too. I work on Google Workspace. We have a Google page. And you've given me some awesome tips, which I've really appreciated. But I know there's so much more to it. So what other things should agents be looking at, or what else goes into those Google rankings to make sure that they're showing up when people are looking for insurance in their area?
Yeah. So with Google Business Profile specifically, you want to make sure that you have your profile actually like formatted properly. And so on Google Business Profile, you have things like categories and secondary categories. And your primary category is going to be one of the biggest indicators and signals that they send out when people are searching for things locally. And so you don't want to have insurance agency You don't want to have insurance broker as your primary category. If you sell car insurance as your number one, item, then you want auto insurance agency to be your number one primary category. And then you could put insurance agency, insurance broker, home insurance agent, renter's insurance agent, life insurance agent. You can have all those listed as secondary categories. So you have to just take a inward look at your business and say, what do I sell the most of? What are people looking for the most? It's either going to be car insurance or home insurance. Most people, most agencies on the P&C side, it's car insurance, and that should be your primary category. There's 3,200 categories on Google Business Profile. So secondary categories are important. I recommend you keep it as short as possible. I wouldn't recommend more than like 4 or 5 secondary categories, and then you can only have one primary. So I recommend that being kind of like your main one. So when you're looking at that Google Business Profile, especially on maps, like I said, reviews don't count towards your rankings, but they're still important. But there's lots of different ranking factors. So you have relevance, you have which is how relevant your search is, your excuse me, not your search, but the consumer search to what you have on your profile. So you want to make sure that like your descriptions, your updates, which are posts on Google Business Profile, you want to make sure that they're all local based. And so you want to mention your city every single time on every update. You want to post updates weekly. Okay. You have to be consistent with it. One of the biggest things with Google is consistency in their system. They want to make sure you're in there, that you're updating your hours of operation. They want to make sure that your descriptions are accurate, that you're constantly posting and making use of all the features that they have in their systems. Google's notorious if they have like parts of their system that people don't like use, they will axe it. They'll cut it off and get rid of it. And one of the biggest ones that we've seen is like, and this one pissed me off, but they got rid of call reports. So
Uh,
when you generate a call, it tells you how many calls you have and the time period of which you have it. But they got rid of the reports that show you which phone numbers were calling in. So now the only way you can actually track it is if you put a call tracking number on your page.
this is so
So
crazy. I didn't know they got rid of that, but I was just having a conversation yesterday with actually an insurance agent who is building some a portal for analytics for insurance agents. And I was telling him like, this is so cool. I love it. This is great. Here's the thing. 90% of the business owners I know don't look at reports, don't look at analytics, don't track anything. And
yeah,
that tracks, right? Because Google saw like nobody's looking at this information and then they took it out as a service. So that's
yeah.
it's so crazy that that is so consistent. I mean, even in something as broad as Google, where business owners weren't looking at their analytics. Such a huge miss.
Yeah. And here's another thing too. It's like Google and I want agents who are watching this to really, really understand this. Google Business Profile is a free service. And when there's a free service from Google, they are not going to allocate resources towards that service.
Okay.
So if you are not following and abiding by their guidelines, there will not be a person that you can talk to from Google. I'm sure you're
Gosh.
familiar with this. There's no
Oh,
one that you could get in contact with,
yeah.
right?
So for anyone who's like, I don't know this, but my own Google, like for my business, got totally blocked, and I was trying to get them to help me with it. And it was only because I had moved. I've unfortunately moved 5 times in 6 years while we've been trying to get settled here in the Boise area in Idaho. And we had these address changes and stuff, and they blocked it, declined it. I did videos and sent in pictures of documents proving our address, all this stuff. They really didn't care. Victor had to come to the rescue and like basically save my page. Otherwise, it would have been completely deleted. So I can attest to that. They really will not give you the time of day. It's like 2 emails, and then basically they won't talk to you anymore.
Yeah.
It was tough.
They don't allocate any resources to it, which doesn't make sense to me because they can very easily charge for the service, add some people in, and they'd make hundreds of millions, but they don't allocate resources. And so it's important to really like stay up to date with their guidelines. And so just to give an example for you, because I'm sure this is probably going to happen for other agents in here who are managing their profiles. If you make any major change to your profile, there's a high likelihood they're going to request a re-verification. And if you make more than one major change at the same time, there's almost a 100% chance that they're going to suspend your profile. And so when you talk about major changes, it's your name, address, and phone number, NAP. And NAP is an important acronym to remember because that helps with your rankings so much on both maps and search. And so with NAP, your name, address, phone, one of the most important things if you want to get like your website ranked on Google, which is against the entirety of the internet, you have to make sure that your NAP information is consistent across every website, directory, and listings that you're on. And so if it's formatted differently on one website compared to another, if the name of your agency is listed differently on Google than it is on Yelp's website, that's going to affect you negatively. So there's plenty of agents who invest tons of money into like their websites, into their Google business profile, and they don't see results. And it's because they're not also paying attention to those things that are affecting them negatively. Their name, address, phone number. I had a farmer's agency I was working with. Name is inconsistent, probably across 30 different websites. Phone
Wow.
number is formatted differently across all the websites. And this isn't their fault either. Like sometimes they pull public information and their website they might have different formats on how they pull in information. So it's going to be different. And so you have to like find it and then you have to like correct it, edit that information. Address was different in plenty different places because they bought an agency, then they bought a larger location, and so they moved it. And so the address is different because some websites still have the old address. So little things like that, just pay attention to your, like everywhere that your business is listed and make sure that it's all consistent and formatted correctly and accurately and across the board. That's going to help a lot. Now, with Google Business Profile for like ranking, you want to post under the update section and you want to do that consistently. So for us, like for our clients, we post every Friday, just once a week. That's all you need. You don't need to overdo it with two, three, four, five. You can if you want to, but like it's overkill at that point. But you want to have main things. You want to have the city that you're located in, not like not every city or not the entire state. You want your city, okay? Because remember, Google Business Profile is a local forward-facing profile. They want to connect your profile with people who are local to you.
Mhm.
So if when people get greedy, there is a locations portion under like when you edit your profile, and people will put their entire state. They'll put multiple states if they're licensed in other states, and they think that they're kind of beating the system and ranking and being visible in all these states. You're not. You're making it worse for yourself because you're sending out signals that you're open to an entire state, and the profile is only there for local. So the only two ways that you can be seen on Google, that your Google business profile can be seen are through a direct search where someone types your business name in directly. And at that point, like they already know your business. So, it's the intent is already there, or they find you locally. So really you putting in all these states isn't going to have too big of a difference in helping you. It's just going to hurt you because the signals that are being sent out are intended to be local. So you want to have your city um, as your location. And then when you're making your post, you want to list the city that you're in every single time. If you're ranked number one in your city or number two or number three, then you can start doing other cities that are just on the outskirts so that you keep growing your presence locally. Um, but you want to have your city in there, you want to have your business name, and you want to have the product or service that you're selling. So if I'm trying to rank for the keyword car insurance locally, then I want to have, and I'm in Fort Myers, Florida. I'm going to say if you're a consumer in Fort Myers, Florida, looking for car insurance, here's 5 facts that you may not know. And then you just kind of spin up like a post about it. You could put an image on there and you want your imagery to be consistent across the board as well. Have your logo on there. And then you just post that update every week, just once a week. That's all you need to do. That's going to help with your rankings on Google Business Profile. So you have,
2 years ago, I didn't even know you could. Well, not 2 years ago, I guess. Gosh, time flies. I guess it's about 4 years ago now. I didn't even know you could post on Google. I mean, I did eventually learn that and start doing it,
yeah.
but it wasn't something that I just was aware of, like Google posting.
Yeah. And you also want to make sure that you put a call to action on every post as well. So I call it a post. It is a post, but it's listed as an update. Um, But at the end of each copy, at the bottom, they give you the option for a call to action. You always want to put call now. If you put website visitor, then you have to hope that your website's good enough to convert someone who goes to your website. With a phone call, as soon as they click that button, they're calling your office or whatever number you have listed. So that's preferable for 90% of agencies. Some people don't like to be on the phone. Those are the agents that are probably struggling the most.
Yeah.
But that's a different topic for a different day.
Yeah.
But yeah, you want to put the call to action of call now. You want to be posting weekly. You want to handle your reputation, which is the reviews, growing the reviews, but also responding to them. Um, Responses are very important because it's showing one to Google that you're actually like viewing the reviews that you're getting and then responding back to it and being active. You're not just getting them and leaving them there. Two, it shows that you're human. So it's not good to kind of have like the same response for every single person. You want people who are viewing the reviews as consumers and checking to see how you operate as a business and what other people say about you, but they want to see how you respond to how people leave your reviews. And that means the positive ones and the negative ones. Um, no business is perfect. If you have a one-star review because you had a bad experience, one, as a business owner, it's a learning experience for you to get better. But two, it's also showing other people how you respond to them when they have bad experiences. And so it's important to like be very professional. I've seen a lot of agents who get very personal or they try to like place the blame back on that person. Just respond to them in a professional manner, offer to contact them and kind of rectify the situation. And then you just drown it out with more good reviews from actual clients. If you're not getting that situated properly, that could affect you. So you want to make sure that you're also like responding to all those reviews that you get, preferably within 24 hours of receiving a review.
I've
So
seen people doing a lot more around, ChatGPT and autoresponders, and you look at reviews and it has the same, thank you for your review, thank you for your review, same exact response. It's very obvious that, nobody's actually
yeah.
spending time on that and engaging with them.
Yeah, and listen, the having an auto response isn't the worst thing because some people leave reviews, but they don't actually leave a review. They just like give you the 5 stars and they don't write
Yeah.
anything. There's not really anything you could really say to that, you know? So if you just say, hey, thank you for the 5 star review, and that's for every person that's not writing anything, that's fine. But if you have someone who's actually taking time out of their day to write a thoughtful response, you should probably do the same in return.
Mhm.
Uh, I do see we have some questions. I don't know if you want to answer those before I kind of
Yeah.
keep.
We'll get to questions too on there. So making sure you're posting, being consistent, making sure all your information is updated across all the platforms, now the presences, continuing to collect Google reviews and reply to them. Now, well, I know this is, maybe 20, 30 minutes, probably, maybe, or maybe an hour. I don't know how much work it is per week, but gosh, like with agency owners and even with my own business, like, oh my gosh, it's like another thing to add to my plate, right? I go
Yeah.
look at my Google, like, so, tell us a little bit more about like ClickRush, what you guys do there. These are all great things and that agents can do and should be doing. Social presence and social proof is so important across the board. And I do have some other questions about the multi-states that I want to make sure we swing back to. But what do you guys do at ClickRush? Like,
Yeah.
what is the service?
Yeah, so our service itself is essentially getting you ranked within, we start within a 5 mile radius, and we're trying to get you ranked in the top three. 96 or 97% of all consumers that convert into clients are converting in the top three organic spots. That means that, like, if you're doing paid advertising, you're in the first two spots on Google, but there's a nice big bold letters that says sponsored or it says advertisement. 97% of people skipping through that and going to the top three organic spots, which is why we try to get you ranked there. And it doesn't matter which spot in the top three, as long as you're in the top three. Now, we start within a 5 mile radius. We try to get you ranked in the top three. Once we get you ranked in the top three for the keywords you're trying to rank for, whether it's car insurance, home insurance, life insurance, whatever, we move the goalposts back and then we go to 10 miles. And then we try to get you ranked in the top three in a 10 mile radius, and then 15, and then 20, and 20. So you start capturing more locality. And obviously, as you capture more locality, there's more calls and more website visitors and, all that coming in. So we handle your Google Business Profile optimization. We manage your account. We handle your review management. So every month you send us a list of your prior clients. We'll send out a 3 email list requesting reviews. If you have Agency Zoom, then you probably already have that automated. And if you don't, you should get with Mariah and she could do that for you. But yeah, we help with the review management. We respond to all the reviews on your behalf, everything except for bad reviews, because that should come directly from the owner, not from us. Um, so we respond to all your good reviews. We help with you receiving reviews if you don't have it. We do competitor analysis and removal. So every time that we run rankings, we look at who's ranked ahead of you. And if there's any profiles that aren't following Google's guidelines or spam listings, we get them removed off the system. So you get to move up in the rankings because of it. Um, we do weekly content posting. So we have a graphic design team. They'll go in, they learn your product, they learn what you're selling, they learn the cities that we're trying to rank you for. And then every Friday, we build out a post for you, and we post every Friday. You have 24/7 access to dashboards. It's something that we just added, where you'll have your own unique link. You can save it on your browser, and you can check your stats and data 24/7.
Wow.
Um, and then we also just released press releases. So we will also twice a year, we'll highlight either you or your agency, and get you in nationally syndicated articles and companies. So Associated Press, CBS, uh, NBC, ABC, I mean, all those companies, Fox. So we'll do 2 press releases each year for you.
That's something that I had stumbled upon early on, was press releases and citations that I had done through our Google
Oh,
page for my agency,
yes.
to help with ranking. And I didn't know, I mean, I still don't really know exactly how that works, but right, it's like we just know we did it and it worked.
Yeah.
So that's
And
awesome.
and
Go
I'm sorry to cut you off, but I
ahead.
also forgot because you brought that up. Also, we do listings and citation management. So we do check for all your NAP information. We run it against the internet, see everywhere that you're listed. Anywhere that there's inconsistencies, we'll go and we'll fix it. And then any directories or websites that you're not listed on that we have an opportunity to get you listed on, we'll submit to get you listed on it. And typically we aim for like 30 to 40 different listings.
Wow.
So
So
that's also a
it's
part of that.
amazing how much goes into this, right? You think I open a business, I got a website, I've got a Google page or a Yelp page, and people should be able to find me, right? If they're looking for me, they're going to find me because I've got all this stuff out there. But it doesn't really sound like that's the case. There's a lot of things that can get in the way of a consumer who is looking for your business, but they literally won't be able to find you if some of these pieces aren't consistent and
Yeah.
set up correctly. Is that pretty accurate or?
It's 100% accurate. Unless they're searching for your business directly. I mean, if you're not ranking properly and doing all the things that Google's looking for, they're not gonna. You have to look at it like this, right? Google wants people to use their platform, right? That's how they stay in business. And in order for people to stay on their platform, they have to make sure that the people that they're lining consumers up with, the businesses that they're lining them up on any relevant search, they need to make sure that it's like they're going to have the best experience. So there's a lot of things that go into that. They want to make sure that the information is accurate and up to date and relevant. They want to make sure that it's relevant to what the consumer is searching for. They want to make sure that the experience on your website is going to be top notch for that client. So that means making sure you have great page speed, making sure you have like a nice website. All these little things that like you don't really think about because I mean, granted, most people shouldn't even be thinking about that. Like you're trying to run an insurance agency, not run, a website and marketing company within your agency, right? But these are all the things that Google is looking for. They want to make sure that their consumers who are using their platform are having great experiences on their platform. And when they go off their platform onto your website and onto your pages, they want to make sure they're having a great experience with you. And so for that, they only have a fraction of 1 second to make that decision of who's showing up where. So it's important that like you're following all these different things that Google wants so that they're always keeping you at the top of mind when that relevant search comes in.
Wow, there's a lot to this. So I didn't really think much about it when back when I was an agent, to be totally honest. But I was at Indie Tech last year, and there was a presenter who they're an agency out of Canada, and he spoke a lot about this, about websites and search engines and all these different pieces. And that is actually how they grew their business. They're a huge agency now in Canada, and a lot of it was just through really focusing on these areas so that they were the easiest agency in the area to find. They had tons of social proof that they had collected and a very easy to use and robust website. And as the insurance market keeps changing, and of course there's direct channels and all this stuff, the consumer is changing too, right? I mean, you go back, maybe 20 years ago, yeah, people were using the internet, but not to the extent that they are today. I mean, if somebody recommends a business to me, just even like, if I'm looking for a contractor or something for my house or landscaper, I'm going to look them up right away. That's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to go try to find their website or find them online and look at their reviews. Are you seeing that is that continuing to be a trend with Google? Is there any information out there as to like how much research people do before they actually contact a business?
Yeah. So most people, you have to picture it like this. By the time that you go in and search for something, there's already intent there, right? Because you have the intent of searching for it. And so if you're going to convert and you found what Google's saying this is the best option for you for what you're looking for, then the purchasing decision's already like 75% of the way made. So the other 25% is going to be like their experience with you once they get to you. So you need to make sure that you don't give any reason for them to get off of that trajectory before they get to you. That's why your website's important. That's why all those things are important. With that being said, the internet changes daily. And so as business owners, like I said when we first started this call, internet leads were like something I was trying to get myself away from. And a lot of agents, that's their primary, and in a lot of cases, their only source of being able to like obtain clients. That's going to change very, very soon. Like when they announced the TCPA changes, I mean, it got axed at the last minute, but these lead vendors were like, their entire businesses were going to be gone. EverQuote, Quote Wizard, Smartphone. These businesses were going to be gone when those new compliance laws came into play because they needed to give consent to every single agency and every single vendor that they sold it from.
Yeah.
Going from one to like tiering that out to every single person you're trying to sell it to, it wouldn't have been feasible or possible.
Mhm.
And so consent's super important. But now when we're looking, and I've been screaming this from the rooftops for like the last 6 months, going local is going to be the only way to win moving forward in the near future. And Google actually, like Google just had a recent they if you guys have been using Google, you've noticed that they've released AI overviews.
Mhm.
Obviously, now it's the AI craze. Everyone's going towards AI. It's the scary thing. It's happening, whether you like it or not. It's here. I try not to talk about it too much because I could care less about AI in the sense that, like, I'm not going to let it dictate how I live my life
Mhm.
or be in fear of it. But we do have to know that it's here, it's coming, and we have to work around it or with it to some extent. Google released AI overviews, which essentially is giving you a synopsis of what you're looking for, and they're giving you a recommendation. That's fine. That wasn't that scary, but it was a preview of what they're about to launch. And they've made it available to a select few. It's not publicly available yet, but it's almost there. Like probably in the next few weeks, it'll probably be publicly available. They've released AI mode. And AI mode on search essentially removes sponsored ads. It removes all the blue links, which is your websites on the organic search. So all the people who are ranking on Google search, you're gone.
Oh,
It,
wow.
it's it's
Hopefully that
now it's
big.
going to be a conversational response. And what they're doing is they're going to have a conversational, you search for something, they give you a conversational summary of it, and then you continue talking to them to kind of filter in what you're looking for. And as they scour the internet for what you're telling them you're looking for, they'll have three links that aren't even links. They're just little tiny logos on the bottom, almost like fine print on a contract, very, very small on the bottom right hand. And there'll be one to three little links, and that will be where they're sourcing the information from. But by the time you're done with that conversation, you've already got what you needed. And so, unless you click on one of those tiny little logos, your website's not being found. You've gotten everything you need directly from Google. So, I think they're shooting themselves in the foot because um, advertising makes up like 92% of all their revenue for Google. Um, so they're getting rid advertising is going to be essentially not relevant or not worth it. It's already expensive to the point that it's not worth continuing, but they're getting rid of all the people who have worked really hard to be ranked organically because they have to, because ChatGPT released Search GPT, which is essentially the same thing. Google has a much broader base, so their hands were forced because that conversational AI type of chat to get answers instead of searches is their hands were forced. So AI mode on Google, you're going to see that released, I'd say probably in the next 6 to 8 weeks. Um, and that's going to be a complete game changer for the way people search on the internet. So our world is changing at a pace that I don't think we realize like how fast it's changing. And for small businesses, it's going to be very, very difficult. But where I wanted to go with that, and I'm sorry if I'm a little long-winded,
No, I was
but
going to ask you about AI, so it was perfect that you mentioned that because I know it's changing search. We hear more and more when we always ask people how they found us, and like we have been hearing over just the last 2 months. Oh, I found you on ChatGPT. I was asking ChatGPT information about Agency Zoom, and it popped up, and I was like, "Wow, that's crazy! I didn't even know that was a thing right now." So I'm
yeah.
glad that you're bringing this up. Keep going.
Yeah, so with that being said, there's still a way that you can win as an insurance agent. And so my whole business now is built around local. I've been saying it for 6 months. I've been predicting this to happen. I didn't think it was going to happen as quick as it did, but I'm glad that like we were already on that boat and kind of like went like all in on local. But now with this search mode, the only way that you're going to win is if you're putting out content that is local based, local content, articles weekly on your website, local posts on your Google Business profile. Everything has to be local based. So when you're looking on Google or the consumer is looking for something locally on Google and they're sourcing, they want to find that content that is local and relevant. And
Exactly.
that's what's going to be put into the little links at the bottom. And so, the people who are making generalized content and things like that, it's not going to work. The people who are already ranked, it's irrelevant. It's going to be who's making consistent, relevant, local content on their website and on their Google Business profile. And hopefully, when you come up in that AI preview and in that AI mode chat, hopefully whoever's searching will choose one of those options, and you're in there. So it's going to be a lot higher intent people, but it's going to be probably less quantity coming from search. So, but maps on the other side, very low hanging fruit. Very, very low hanging fruit. Not a lot of people are active on Google Maps, so it's very easy to rank on that.
I use maps pretty much every single day. We just booked a campsite. We're gonna go to Yosemite and camp with my sister. And the first thing we did was pull up Google Maps and type in campgrounds and try to see what's closest to the park and what ends of the park, just little things like that.
Yeah.
Orthodontist, dentist, obviously insurance, all those different pieces where I mean we probably use maps more than we use Google at this point. And then of course, AI, chat GPT, things like that as well. This constant like need to make content. I feel like from a business owner perspective, you've got your social media platforms. Of course, Google's one of those. And it's something that you have to keep doing. It can be a lot to put on a business owner. I know we look for ways to automate those pieces, but if you guys are watching, I mean, more and more, it's easier and easier to point out what is AI, what's being pumped out by AI versus what is organic content. And from everything I'm seeing, organic content is still winning by a high margin in comparison to really dry AI type content. So don't get too caught up in that. People still do business with people, and they're looking for your personality and your flavor and this information when they're searching as well. Are you seeing anything different at this point? That's what I'm really hearing from everyone we're talking to.
Yeah, I mean, organic content's always going to win over AI generated content. Google is very open about that. Like they are docking you if you're using AI content. And if you think Google can't recognize AI content, they can.
Yeah.
I mean, it's AI basically seeing itself. So it's very easy for it to figure it out. And when you're pumping out content, it seems like you're doing it like you're doing all the right things, but you're hurting yourself. You're essentially wasting your time. So
Mhm.
unless you're taking that AI content and pumping it out to your audience, like email blasting or social media post, um, I mean, sure, you might get views on that, but like also, like you just said, Mariah, like we know when we see an AI generated post. So it's like most of the time we're just going to scroll past it anyways. So you're really just not doing yourself any favors in doing that. You're trying to take the fast way out, the easy way out. Um, I don't think that there's anything wrong with creating it through AI, but you should still retouch it to have your human voice to it. So
Yeah,
like I like using ChatGPT. I have like don't get me wrong, I have a full-time AI assistant, I have a full-time executive assistant built out in ChatGPT. I have so many things built out that help, but I don't take it, copy it, and then post it. I will take it and then I use ChatGPT for the ideas.
yeah,
And I take the ideas and then I rewrite it in my own voice and then I post it. And so as I do that, now what I do is I take what I've already written and I put it back into Chat GPT and I say, remember this,
mhm,
right? Save this memory. When you tell Chat GPT, and especially if you have like a paid account, um, I highly recommend getting the paid account because you can create folders that stay as one living document and you could just keep going back to it. And that's how you can create an assistant. You could create a marketing assistant and an executive assistant. Um, and when you tell it to like save as a memory, it'll remember your writing style, the tonality, like everything that you've put in with your words, and it'll match your writing style so it becomes a lot more fluent.
mhm.
And then as you keep doing it, you'll realize over a longer period of time, there's less editing you have to do to make it human. But always start with like just asking it for the ideas of what you want to do, and then you write it, and then have it rewrite it in its way, and then make it a lot more human um, to see. So
Yeah, yeah, there's some telltale stuff too, right? Like all the little asterisks that people put in their content,
the
obviously from AI. So
emojis.
watch for that stuff as well. Definitely great for ideas. I completely agree with all of that. So what about, let's talk about the conversion for this. So you get all these things in place, you're being consistent, or you just, decide, hey, I'm gonna hire ClickRush and you guys take care of it. And you see that increase in activity coming into the agency. In my agency, I was a captive agent. We tracked our call-ins from Google. If somebody called us, we 100% of the time asked, how did you find us? And we
Yeah.
tracked that through our CRM so we could see all of our conversion ratios. And our closing ratio on people calling us from Google was 67%, which was great as a captive agency. Independent agents might think, oh, that's low or whatever. Maybe that's out of this world for you. But I've legitimately, that was our closing ratio. And it wasn't even specific to like a really seasoned producer or somebody I was talking to. We had new staff, seasoned staff. I would quote some business, and that was our average across all of that. So, like you mentioned earlier, them being very high intent on Google because they're looking for that experience and looking at your reviews and stuff like that. That's what we experienced as well. What are you seeing agents experience when, they get all these things in place and now they have these opportunities? What are their results looking like?
Yeah, I mean, results vary, right? Like it does depend on who's receiving it and
What
what's,
you're doing with
what
it?
they're doing with it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guarantee if you take maybe your newer people and give those calls to like your better performing agents, that number probably shoots up even higher. Uh, but I mean, the results are there. It's local and it's high intent. You can't get any better than that. You can't you can't fathom any situation unless you live in a horrible, horrible neighborhood and your agency is like in the middle of like a horrible place. Like anything that's local and high intent that's finding you organically means that they're searching for you or they're
Mhm.
searching for something very, very close to what you are. Google, like I said, it ties back to what Google's goal is. Their goal is to match you with the best fit possible. They want you to have the best experience. So if someone's finding you organically, Google probably knows more about you and I than we know about ourselves. It's just a reality. They have so many they know everything we search, everything we're looking for, everything we're writing down. They know us. And so they know who to connect us with, right? On any type of relevant search. So your intent's always going to be there. Um, as far as results, so we don't track closing rates on people because it would require us to have access to their CRMs, which we're not going to do, and or they use our CRMs, which we're not going to build one out and force agents to use multiple CRMs. So
Yeah.
we don't track that. It was a lot better when we had call reports because then we could just track the numbers to the sales. We don't have access to that anymore. So unless an agent opts in for call tracking, which we do offer for our agents if they want it, we don't have results that we can track. But I would say based on our retention rate of our clients, we're upwards of like 95% retention rate. Like our churn's super, super low. I would say that they're having really, really good results. That's our best way of determining, success with clients. So we see increases in calls, website visitors, rankings, and our clients aren't leaving us. So those are all telltale signs that like they're getting good results.
Yeah, no, I can completely relate to that. People ask us that all the time about results with our services as well. And, we have agencies who fully implement and run with it and have amazing results. And we have agents who go through training and haven't opened the CRM in a year since we put them through it and have no results.
Yeah.
So it really is what you do with it. But getting that activity, that inbound. The other thing that's can really affect you guys is morale. So in an agency, in a sales environment, right? It's one day you're the hero and the next day you're the zero. Sales is such an up and down roller coaster. It can be such an emotional position as well. You have to have people obviously that can handle that up and down and constantly calling out. Like if you're buying internet leads, like we talked about in the beginning, constantly calling out and fighting against all of those other people that are shopping. What we've really found too is with Google that when people call in, they weren't really calling a lot of people. They might call one or two, but the vast majority of the time they're kind of calling the first person and just dealing with the person they found online or that were referred to, had the most reviews in the area. We didn't really have to compete much, but for producers and their morale, I mean, how great, right? I'm sure you guys can all relate to this. Your phone rings and they want a quote. That's the goal, right? You don't really want you to have your team spending a bunch of time dialing out. That's not really the point. What you want is your team on the phone with prospects who are ready to buy. And that's what these high intent inbound calls can do through your Google page and through your sites. I want to make sure that we have time for questions. We already have one in the chat. But if you guys have questions about, utilizing Google's, website searches, any of this stuff, please type into the chat. We want to get those answered for those that are here for the webinar live. And obviously, of course, if you're watching the recording and you have questions, you want to reach out to Victor at ClickRush. While we're waiting for questions, Victor, how should people reach out to you? What is the best way for them to contact you?
Yeah, you can email me, Victor at clickrush.io, or you can go to our website, www.clickrush.io, and yeah, we respond to our emails, and yeah, that's the easiest way to get in contact.
So we have a question in here right now. So I'm getting ready to move to a new office. What would be the best practice to update my address on Google?
So wait until you're actually moved in. So here's the thing, when you change an address, that's considered a major change. So there's a high likelihood they may request you, or in this case for an address, it's a 100% chance they're gonna ask you to re-verify your profile or else they'll suspend it. So you want to make sure, like, when you go through that verification process, that you have signage on your new office, that you have computers that are up and ready to run, and that you have your address listed on your door because Google's going to force you. They used to do it the easy way, which was we'll send you a postcard to the address you have listed, and then you receive that postcard at that address. You take a photo of the QR code, you pop it up, and then you're approved. Very easy. Now, what they do is they force you into a video, and you have 2 minutes to record this video. You can't go over the 2 minutes because the file will be too large and they're just not going to do it. So if you're like, I have a client, I feel bad for her. She's in like a professional suite that's like a 20-story building, and her building's like building number 4 in a whole professional area, a whole park of buildings. So it was impossible for 2 minutes for her to get from the street sign to her office. But we were able to make it work. But Google is going to want to see you start from your street address to show that the address is the same that's being listed. You want to make sure your address on your business license is the same as what your address is that your office is going to be recording the video on. You want to have the video of your logo and your business name. And if you have the office number on the door, they want to see you open the door. They want to see you walk to your office. They want to see you lift open or unlock your computer or laptop. So if you do have a computer, make sure that it's locked. Type in your password. They can't see the password, but they want to see you typing it in, and they want to make sure that the client's information is safe. which is why they force you to do that. And you have to do all that within 2 minutes. So wait until your office is completely like set up. You have your logo, your business stuff, and then make the change. They're going to immediately request you to re-verify it, and then you're going to have to go through that process. So wait until it's fully done before before you make that change on Google.
Google does not mess around, apparently. We have
Not
another
at all.
question, and you guys keep asking questions, of course. Actually, we had the website. Can you repeat the website one more time for us, Victor?
Yeah. Can I just type it in the comments? Would that be
Yeah, you
easy?
can. So that was a question. Someone missed it earlier. So the other question that we have in here is from Kathy. She is saying that she has hired SEO companies and had a lot of promises, but it sounds like nothing happened. Um, so let's see, how can we actually see things that are in fact being done with SEO? She said she's really tired about paying for services that can't be verified. That's super
Yeah.
interesting. Man, I'd like to get a list of those vendors, Kathy, so we can put them on our blacklist. But what would you recommend, Victor?
Yeah, so hold on, let me reread it so I can really understand it. So I've had
Yeah.
with every SEO company, website host is promise of things being done, nothing happening. How can we see that things are in fact being done on our site, our SEO, etc.? Tired of paying for service. So number one, every change that we make on your profile, you're going to receive an email of the changes that we've made. So we're very transparent in that manner. Um, Actually, I was looking at the participants here on this call right now, and one of our clients is actually on here. Oh, it looks like she just left. It was Ashley Gullo. So we send emails out for every change that we make, so you're involved in it. Like I said, you do have 24/7 access to a dashboard, so you get to see everything that's on there. It is your Google Business Profile, so you'll get to access your own profile at all times. It's yours. So you'll be able to see all the posts that we make. Like I said, we schedule every week. We don't do anything on your website. We're not your website host. We're not your website provider, so I can't speak on behalf of that. Um, but if you are paying someone to do your website, you should probably have some sort of like dashboard. Most companies I know that do websites, they usually use like a project management system like Asana or Monday or something of that manner. And they usually grant access to the client so that they can also view it. Um, but yeah, you'll have 24 access to a dashboard that shows all your stats. So you'll be able to see your rankings. You'll get rankings reports emailed to you each month from our account manager, Kanari. She emails our clients every month. You'll have your ranks on there. You'll have your stats. You'll have your data. You'll hear what we've worked on and what we're going to be working on moving forward. So, um, yeah, that's
Results are obviously the biggest indicator, right? You see an increase. Now, these are things that, agencies should be tracking, of course. If you guys don't ask people where they found you when the phone rings, I highly encourage you to do that. Start tracking your lead sources in your CRM. If you don't have one, then reach out. We can help you with that as well. Kathy also asked, what do you charge? What's the cost? And I think you also have like a deal or something for the webinar attendees, right?
Yes, I do. So we charge 1,000 a month, and we have a 50% discount for everyone who is attending and wants to sign up here. So it'd be $500 a month. Now, we used to be less, but we also offered a lot less in the past. So our prices have changed. But at 500 bucks a month, you get the Google Business Profile Optimization, you get your weekly content posting, you get your listings and citations management, you get your reputation management and helping with reviews and responding to them. You get your press releases and everything else that comes with it, dashboards, an account manager, all that good stuff.
Yeah, that's an amazing price point. If you try to think about, I know people are always looking at, well, could I hire this or could I learn it or could I do it myself and things like that. And you try to take the years of experience and then not only just the experience that you have to do this and do it well, but the time, the consistency. And then, like Victor said, staying in front of this, right? So staying in the front, making sure that you are not falling behind this AI stuff that you're talking about coming out with Google search. Like, what business owner has the time to just research what's coming next with things moving so fast? It's really impossible. Even at our company, our job is to stay on top of a lot of technology updates for our clients that are on annual contracts, and we're trying to make sure they're maximizing their tools. I mean, it's a full-time thing. We have a database that we share across all 14 of our team members. So if somebody hears something or sees something about a change coming, we can communicate it to the team. So if you even just think about the time that it takes to stay on top of these changes, not even counting all the experience and the actual implementation doing of the work, $500 is nothing. That's nothing in comparison. You get a couple extra clients a month from Google call-ins with high conversion ratios. You're there. That's amazing. Absolutely love that you have that promo. So for the attendees here, how do they take advantage of that? What should they do?
I can put the link that has the price point already in there. Let me just grab it real quick and I'll put it in
Guys, this
here.
is gonna be recorded and on YouTube, obviously, but this is just for the attendees that are here. So go
Yes.
in into the chat and click on the link so that you actually have it and can take advantage of this. Make sure you save it. Don't click on it and close the window. We've all done that.
All right, give me 1 second and let me grab it. I closed out all my tabs earlier because I didn't want anyone calling in and
Oh, I didn't
ruining the
webinar.
call.
You also have to watch your bandwidth, right? You don't want your like webinar to get glitchy.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have any other questions? Are you guys maximizing, do you feel like you're maximizing Google? Do you even know how many reviews you have? The other thing I would say is check reviews for the competitors in your area. This was very eye-opening to me when I went from Western Washington to Idaho and I moved here. In Western Washington, people were really actively looking to collect reviews in insurance agencies. And I came to Idaho, which it's Idaho. We're like a little behind technology wise, a little old school here, a little Wild West. And I was shocked to see that most insurance agents had like 5 reviews. And there was one agency in my town that had 100. Well, there was one agency, but they've been an agency for like 35 years. My goal was to beat them to have over 100 reviews by the end of my second year as an agent. And we were able to do that actually sooner than planned. And then I was just making sure we had the most. And it was crazy how much just that small piece, right? Not all the other things that Victor's talking about, but just the reviews that we did increased our call-ins. And like Victor said before, right? I mean, it's free. You don't have to pay for the leads. They're free, they're high intent. It drives me crazy when people don't at least use that piece because it is
It's
just a gimme.
It's it's a low-hanging fruit. It's low-hanging fruit, and that's like why I love it so much because there's so many agents who aren't even taking advantage of it.
Yeah.
Probably because they don't know. They don't know it's there, you know? And so one extra thing. So yes, it's a 50% off on the price, so it's $500 a month, but I forgot I also added in that it's 30 days free. So the first month is actually free for you. So
Okay.
I've just put that link in so you get your first 30 days free, and then as long as you stay as a client with us, you get 50% off our price.
Perfect. Christy asked if we can email out all the services that you listed. Yes, we will include that in. So after our webinars, all the attendees receive a notification that it's posted on YouTube, the re-recording. And so we'll include that in that email as well.
Awesome.
And we have people just chatting in, just saying that they clicked on it, they're interested, all that good stuff. So get into the chat, click on that link that Victor has there. Victor, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. We'll get this out. And you guys, just an easy piece, right? An easy piece to add. There are people in your area searching for insurance. Just make it easier for them to find you. Thank you again, Victor, so much for being here. We appreciate you.
Yeah, not a problem.
Bye,
I
guys.
appreciate you guys having me.
See ya.